Okay, now example 7b. This goes pretty quickly actually. I want to do a little review problem here. I want you to solve this quadratic equation. X to the second power minus 4 equals 0. So you know it's got two answers because it's to the second power. You got A and C. There's no B. So AC's are a walk in the park. You just got to get the x squared by itself. You're going to add 4, then divide by 1. Then your x squared will be by itself. So x to the second equals 4, and then we can just find the square root of 4, which is 2, but it could also be negative 2. Now, I did that because on the next problems, you're going to do something new. You haven't done this before. You're going to factor the expressions. It says these are not equations. Don't solve them. Okay? Now, the first one I'm going to kind of take a roundabout way, and then the next one I'll show you how to easily do it much quicker. Factor the expressions. Now you notice how each problem I put equals and then 2 parentheses, okay? Right there. You got to find what times what would equal x squared minus 4. That's what factoring is. Now I'm going to take a roundabout way for this. I'm actually going to make my own b here. I'm going to put x to the second, and then if b, and that's an a. And then I'm going to make my own b. I can always make my own b by putting a 0. We're not going to do that on the rest of the problems, but for this. And then my c is minus 4. Okay. So I'll go GCFT, because it's ABC. Okay, the greatest common factor in this problem would be 1. Okay, so you wouldn't do it. So 1 times negative 4 is negative 4, positive times negative, and we're adding to try to make 0. Well, 1 and 4 can't be it. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Oh, that would be 0. You bet. Okay. And my a is a 1 up there, so I can get rid of the 1 and just make 2 parentheses, x plus 2, x minus 2. So that is what your answer is. Okay, that's what goes in the parentheses. Now there's an easier way to do this. You don't have to do all this crap here. You can just go from here to here. Most problems. There's going to be one problem on your assignment where you can't, but I'll address that in the examples. Okay, I put a multiplication chart on your table. Okay. What times what would be x squared? Will be x times x. Then we have a minus, so we know that's a positive times a negative. Now what times what would be 4? Now for it to add to 0, you need a plus and a minus of the exact same thing. So what number times itself is 4? It'd be 2, okay? Going from here to here is known as what's called difference. It's called difference because there's always has to be a minus in between of perfect squares. Okay, here's why it's called difference of perfect squares, because again the difference is for the minus. X to the second is a perfect square because I can write that as x times itself. And 4 is a perfect square because I can write that as 2 times itself. And that always works when you're factoring. Okay? Now, I'll show you kind of the and I always abbreviate difference of perfect squares, DOPS. It's known as DOPS, difference of perfect squares. And when you're asked to factor an AC, not solve it, because solving you already knew how to do easily. You want to stick with that way to solve equations. But to factor them, you go with difference of perfect squares. Okay? So I have x to the second power minus 9. I got to find out what 2 parentheses that equals. So again, that would be an A. I'm not going to put the 1 there. That would be a C. Okay? So there is no B. Now make sure you got your minus. You do. So you put if you see the minus there, you put plus negative, and they all have minuses. Now x to the second is x times x. Now 9. What times itself is 9? Well, if you look at this little diagonal, you see that diagonal yellow line? Those are all your perfect squares, and 9's on there. That's 3 times 3. So 3, 3, and that's the answer. Okay, that's all you have to do. Okay, next problem. we have x to the second minus 64. Okay, so the subtraction sign, so that's C's and A and C's negative, so plus negative. X to the second is x times x, and then 64. Is that a perfect square? Yeah, there's 64. It's 8 by 8. So x plus 8 times x minus 8 is what we have. Okay, really it goes pretty rapidly. Okay. All right, m to the second minus 125. Or 225, my bad. You're not trying to solve the equation. You're trying to find out what two parentheses could multiply to that. So m to the second, we know that that's m times m, and then we have a minus, so it's a positive times a negative, and 225, go look at your table, and there's 225, that's 15 times 15. Now I'm going to show it to you why that works, because let's go back to the first one. If I multiply it back out and take x times x times negative 3, 3 times x, and 3 times negative 3, I'm going to have x to the second. I'm going to have negative 3x. You don't have to write this, I'm just showing you. Positive 3x and negative 9. Now we usually add those two in the middle, but they add to 0, so it's just x to the second minus 9. Okay, so that's why that works. Really, it's not too hard of a process. Okay. Okay, next problem. You want to keep watching though, because 36x to the second minus 25 equals which two parentheses? This time x has a x, before I get to the x second, I got a 36. So go down that list and see if 36 is there, which it is. It's 6 by 6, so I go 6, 6. Then I do the x, and then when I get that minus, I do the positive, negative. And then 25 is on there, it's 5 by 5. So 6x plus 5 times 6x minus 5. Factor ACs, we look for difference of perfect squares. Okay, with AC, that's how you factor ACs when there's no B. To solve the equations, like finding the two answers for x, like x equals, do it the way we always did it. But to factor it, you want this one. Okay, my next one, we got 9n to the second minus 400. So that's an A and a C. So we got to look for a difference of perfect squares. Okay, so 9. Well, 9's 3 times 3, and then I can do the n to the second as n times n, and then minus is positive, negative. Now, how about 400? Go to that list, and 400's down at the end. That's 20 by 20. So 20 times 20. 3n plus 20 times 3n minus 20. Okay, now I'm going to go to a different sheet of paper because you're going to run into a problem on these next two. And you got one on the assignment like this. So that's an A, that's a C. Well, here's the problem you run into first. 27's not on the list, okay? 27's not a perfect square. So what you need to do then when they're not perfect squares is you need to make a GCF box and find me the greatest common factor with 27 and 12. So here's the 12th row. Is 27 there? No. So go find 12. The next row 12's in is in 6. Is 27 there? Nope. 12's in the 4th row. Is 27 there? Nope. 12's in the 3rd row, and so is 27. So 3 is a GCF. So you need to factor out a 3 and then go divide by 3. And that now gives you 9x to the second. Remember, don't put x with 3, because whenever the c's in the quadratic expression, you can't do an x. That x is still to the second. And then 12 divided by 3 is 4. So now you got a new a and c, and now you can go, because 9's a perfect square. That's 3, 3. X to the second is XX, and then the negative means a positive and a negative, and 4 is 2, 2. Now one thing you got to remember, that 3 that you factored out, you need to place that at the beginning of the first parentheses, okay? So again, remember to put that there. When you have to use that method, when you have to go to the GCF before you're able to find the perfect squares like you were here, put that number in front. Okay, now I'm going to do another one. 24x to the second minus 6 equals which two parentheses? Well, right now, we got an AC, we got to factor it. Right now, I'm not seeing 24 in that row. Okay, so again, I have to do the GCF first. Okay, now 6 is the smallest number, so go to 6. 6 is in that row, so is 24, so the GCF is 6. Okay, now when you factor out the 6, put it right there, okay, in front. Now go divide by 6, and you get 4x to the second minus 1. Well, 4 can be written as 2 times 2. X to the second would be x times x. The negative would be a positive and a negative, and 1 would be 1 and 1. So this thing is the answer with that 6 included in the front.